because, you got to stimulate those babies' brains. Holy shit.
Yep.
So for like the fifth change of people that are on the show for within a 2-month span, we have a bit of a catch-all fucking team right now. We got Verlis, who decided to catch in and hang out, and we have the guest Drifter. No, what's up? So we are fucking live. Thank you, Drifter, for coming on as a guest. I know your neck is super fucking killing you, and as always, Verlis, thank you.
I'm totally good for now. This is a nice, comfy pillow. So doing a bed stream.
I just woke up.
I was like just kind of drifting off with a nap, watching the League of Legends World Championship. I get a message, it's like, "Hey, can you come on?" Yeah, I've got like just the setup ready to go.
The benefits of being a content creator.
Oh, it's so nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I was, with how much being a content creator actually is, I was so tempted to just switch my living room into my bedroom and just allow my living room to be where my bedroom is now. So that way, like, the living room was contained, and then I could kind of just work out of what my living room is now with my office and my bed and stuff like that. I was like, nope, that would be kind of weird to walk into my bedroom though, for like any guests or anything like that.
I feel you. I did a similar, even a dumber thing at my old house before I had to move. There was I guess you could call it a reading nook, there's the living room, and then there's like this little formal living room thing. We tore everything out of it and built a 12-foot by 12-foot by 12-foot green screen Omega like mixed reality VR room, cheaply, out of tape and paper mostly, instead of painting, and cheap lights. So you walk into the front door of my house and it opens up to this absolutely enormous green screen room, and all you can see is green screen and like random VR components dangling from the ceiling. My wife said it was not good design, but I personally loved it.
Holy shit. I did the same thing.
You did?
I had a house, and like it was, you walk in and to the left there were like these two big glass doors, and that was like supposed to be the dining area. I said, fuck it, VR room.
Nice. See?
And it was like a stage. I actually like built a wooden platform that was like easier to cover with the for the floor green screen. That did Beat Saber on it for the mixed reality.
Oh, that was so fun. Beat Saber mixed reality is so fun to play, so fun to stream, so good for the audience, and such an absolute pain in the ass to maintain. I don't know what your experience was, but I feel like I must have done it 100 times to the point where I was an expert, and I go through the nice, safe, conservative steps to boot. 10 minutes before the stream, something insane happens, and we have to do all this like crazy tech support to barely get it going, and then they're like, all right, we're doing Beat Saber.
Oh yeah, like I knew exactly where the end of that sentence was going. It wasn't as much like immediate tech support that was the issue. It was mostly like every time Beat Saber updated, which it did a lot when it first came out, or when the Live mixed reality updated, like every 3 days, something breaks. So I have it perfect. Like I'm crisp 1080p. The lighting is good. I changed nothing. Then I turn it on one time. Everything looks like shit. Got to recalibrate the virtual cameras. Takes like an hour, and then I just don't even want to make content anymore.
Are you sitting there on OBS, like you record, and then you like drag it into Adobe or Sony, whatever, and you're like looking at the frames to see if the frames are syncing up, and you're like, oh no, it's 1.5 frames off. Which rounding do I fix this on? Like,
nah, you care more about content than I do on that front.
The shitty part is like I was sitting here, I use Streamlabs OBS to fucking run through the podcast and create TikToks throughout the entire thing. It took me like 40-50 minutes to run through the entire podcast and make 30 TikToks in between 2 or 3 episodes, because I just made layouts for both of them and then just flip in between them and record, unrecord. And now this, I watch myself turn into a flip book where I'm just frozen every 20 seconds. And I'm like, this is fucking useless. I pay for gigabit internet and fucking Spectrum shitting the fucking bed. I am so sick and tired of this bullshit. Me and Drifter were talking about this probably not even 10 minutes ago. My speed, just sitting in a fucking VC, sitting in here, not even streaming yet, not even doing anything, and 2 YouTube, Netflix streams going on upstairs. 300 by 7.
Yep.
Which isn't bad, but if I'm supposed to have 1,000 by 40, that's not anywhere fucking close.
Nope.
Not anywhere fucking close.
That's why I hate Comcast. No matter how much money you give Comcast, they will not give you any upload speed.
They don't have to. They're a monopoly.
It got
Thanks
even
for
worse.
reminding me.
It got even worse. They're the only place that covers my area at all. At all.
Regional
Yep.
monopoly.
I have to go and move back to my hometown, which is 20 miles away, to get a different carrier. That carrier, max speed for $250, gives you 150 by 5.
Ugh. And no incentive to upgrade.
Nope.
As it may sound bizarre, every time I've purchased a house, my wife and I filter houses by like certain carriers' coverage areas, and it drives realtors insane to hear like some of the questions like, "Oh, this house is in a Comcast only region. We can't buy that." And they're like, "What?"
Like, what the hell's going on? Why are you telling me you can't buy this house? It has everything you wanted. What the hell are you bitching about?
Yeah, they're like, you could just downgrade. And I'm like, no, I'd rather live in a shoebox and have great internet.
I would rather be able to do my job and be able to pay for said shoebox than live in a mansion that I'm going to lose in a couple of years because I can't afford my bills.
Yeah.
You making fun of I just watched the Penguin Zero video about Quibble Cop and stuff.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. No, that's the trajectory for YouTubers. They start flexing and buying mansions, and then like a year, 2 years later, please, my GoFundMe, you're gonna lose everything.
Quibble Cop has a GoFundMe out?
No.
I was gonna say
story
that's
is
such
way weirder. He's into NFTs, and he hired a team of 50 people to create a whole bunch of virtual YouTubers and use AI scripts.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
know
like
he was talking about that on PK and stuff like that. It was super, super interesting, like the ideology of it. He was saying, they've already recorded me saying all of these phrases, all of these words. I have hours and hours of content. Those words then could be phrased together and thrown back into sentences and formed back together. They have video of me saying all of them. So if it's just my face, it's not really like you can really tell that there's a difference, which I completely understood. Like, it makes logical sense to be able to do that. But like, it's just crazy that somebody would try and go that far and do those things and stuff like that for everything to kind of just come together and fall apart. Like, when you're making 20 mil worth of subs a month, that's fucking insane.
That's what he was on, 20 million a month. Jeez.
It was 20 mil subs, I believe. I'll look in 2 seconds.
That
Okay,
doesn't sound correct.
I thought you were telling me $20 million a month. I was about to say, what? I need to get on this train. Sign me up for some AI bots.
No, it's really weird because I think he was one of the people that people were worried about bots and that kind of stuff at first, at least, because of the growth and how quick his channel grew. It's weird how quick his channel grew with what he does for content. It's like that stage above fucking toddler content with GTA, which I don't understand how that actually works as content to sell to other people, but that's
it's when you find out about like a FIFA channel, it's like 3 mil out of nowhere. Like, okay, you guys are just on to something.
So I overrated it. He was at 14 mil. Well, 15 mil, just under 15. And he's getting around 100K views now, when before he was getting a couple million of a video.
It's rough. I'm not going to turn this into a dick on Quibble Cop stream, but that happens to a lot of YouTubers. I'm going through that same phase too, man. I got
let me
almost
show you my story.
Huh?
I've got my story too. Like, yeah, we've all been there. This is effectively just washed hour now.
Yeah.
No, like
well,
honestly,
so here's the thing about being washed. If you stick with it for long enough, I swear to God, people's popularity comes and goes in like phases. People that are washed now will blow up again years later. You might remember Ninja was considered totally washed before he blew up.
Oh yeah, watching old Ninja, where it's like he goes from what he was to family friendly. It's like, yeah, you still got that chance.
It's really weird when you see somebody have a renaissance like that. They go from making like edgy, sort of somewhat their content of like, that's really not TV friendly in the slightest, to just completely flipping it on its ass, and all of a sudden everything's completely PG, everything's completely accepted by everybody and could be watched by anybody. Honestly, it's weird looking at Quibble Cop stuff because I couldn't watch any of this content, but he was one of my favorite PKA guests of all time, just because of how quick and how well he integrated, and because he was a fan. Like, it seems like the people that were fans first are able to integrate themselves into the shows and stuff like that because they understand the cadence and the jokes and everything else. It's just weird to watch somebody like that was able to like almost be like a social chameleon in that circumstance.
Yeah, well, he understood it. He'd been watching a long time. You talk about PKA and not blending in. It's probably harder to get younger creators in there because PKA, the host and the guests, are often a little bit older, different sort of humor, definitely not family friendly. And you pull people in, they probably don't want to get pulled into those conversations because it can look bad. You know, they're afraid of getting canceled and stuff like that.
Yeah, dick pills, man. Like that, you can see everyone getting nervous. Like, you sell what? And then me, as a PKA fan, I'm like, how is it that every guest hasn't bought this? I have lock and load. I do, unironically, and it works. And then like a million guests come on, I'm like, you guys don't even have it? Come on. Or it seems like sometimes they haven't even watched a single episode. I'm a big PKA fan. So at that point, I'm like, some of these guests, like, they're out of touch. And then the other ones come in, they're like, yo, ready to roll with the crew. Harley, you know.
No, Harley runs around Halifax, Nova Scotia and yells, I don't even know what this place is for. And some random person behind him says, lobsters. I have no idea where the hell that shit fucking came from. But that shit was fucking hilarious. But yeah, no, it's really, really odd to see how certain people actually fit in with the unique creativity of what PKA actually is. Because it's completely different than what a lot of shows are.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fucking odd.
I'm laughing because I swear sometimes I think I get invited just when they want to make Woody mad.
Yeah, I was also going back a little bit to like the whole YouTube cycles and stuff. What I was going to say is like the reason why my channel is out of Valley right now, it's really hard to kind of pull it back up, is I get dislike botted. And the YouTube support doesn't seem to want to do anything about that. It's one of those things where I'll be watching real time. It's like spike of dislike or like a spike of views, computer only, and then my dislikes go from like 70% to 50%, and then the video is just dead from all promotion. I'm like, that one didn't get a chance.
They don't care. Like YouTube doesn't care to fix it. And they'll, if you ever get to talk to a human, which is a miracle,
they'll
tell you, oh, our algorithm is like really sophisticated and we can detect and take care of dislike bots and it doesn't affect the algorithm. And like you said, you can look at that beautiful arcing view graph and all this like reach. And then when the dislike bot hits, it falls off like a cliff down to nothing.
I had a video that was like 20,000 views an hour on like its third day. So I'm like, oh, we hitting 500,000. We working towards that mil mark. It was a Breath of the Wild video. When Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild first came out, I'm like, oh, this is going to be so good. And then I just watched it go from like 20,000 to 800 to 30. I was like, okay, YouTube support, please help. They said, this is completely organic. While we can't talk about our algorithm. And I just got like all the copy paste stuff. I'm like, and when you look at it, it's all from like how normally I have like 70% mobile views, 30% computer, whatever. And then it flips to 70% computer, 30 mobile. I'm like, yes, please. It's a botnet. Do something. And then
they absolutely can't discredit dislikes either because it has to be some part of the algorithm.
Oh,
how you interact with the video, it has to be.
Yeah.
And that's the shitty part about it is like as soon as it's touched, it's interacted with, regardless of how it's interacted with.
Because they've also told me like, oh, dislikes don't count against you in the algorithm. I'm like, that's a lie. Here's a million screenshots showing you that's a lie. That once you go below 80%, your video is shit on. And once you go below 60%, it's dead. It's not coming back.
Yeah, no, they don't. So if you talk to YouTube, they'll say things like that. I've done this so many times for so many years. I've begun to suspect or just genuinely believe that the vast majority of the human beings that work at YouTube know very little about how the algorithm actually works. Oh yeah, I think I might have talked to like one person that ever had any actual real insights.
It makes you wonder because I would assume with how little people actually genuinely know about it, unless you're fucking Mr. Beast or somebody like that, that shit changes, whether it's very, very slightly or very, very largely within weeks. And it's happening every month or 2 months to just rotate it and flip it. Because once somebody figures it out, they hit. And obviously they keep hitting. But it must change very slightly every couple months, though, or you're going to continually hit on every channel you start. And that's kind of where it sticks. They obviously have no idea what the fuck they're doing, because if they did, they would be able to tell Drifter, hey, do this, and I guarantee you it's going to do something. And then all of a sudden it hits.
Oh, dude, I'm so like burnt out on YouTube advice. When they tell me try streaming, try shorts, try these things, in my head I say I should avoid all of that. It's going to screw up the algorithm somehow.
I feel it. That's why I brought up, I'm like, Drifter probably knows what I'm talking about, because I remember looking at your channel a while ago after like you came on PKA or something. Zach told me like, yo, you should check this kid out, he's really cool. And you are effectively the Call of Duty content. Like, you make the same Call of Duty content that I make for Pokemon. Like, the new game comes out and they just break every part of it down to get those sick, like, more like, okay, do you go for more search views than more algorithm boosted, or like you cover every element of the game to where you're just going to get more evergreen in that way?
Probably a little bit more search view. The original strategy eons ago.
Yeah, I'm talking like
views.
older.
Yeah. It was
channel.
Definitely about search views, because people would look up guns and builds and look up the game over and over and over. And I wanted the SEO really high. The last couple of years, it has obviously been trying to get algorithm push, which is brutal, because if you've looked up my channel or know anything, I've been sick for a bit, so I can't play COD and break things down to the atom anymore. So it's a lot of more like experimental content that the algorithm does not like. And, you know, not all of the fans are going to like it. I get that the bulk of people that are there are going to watch like Call of Duty content, right? But the algorithm just won't recommend anything that's not that, or very rarely will it do so.
Does it like tag your channel as this is what they upload, so this is what we'll push from this character, and then if it's a different channel, it would
feels
produce
like
whatever? That's really interesting that they.
That would be my guess. I think I think Verlis here would agree that it's all a bit of guesswork.
Yeah,
but after years of guess and check, things kind of line up a certain way. It's not like, yes, absolutely, it's 100% that. I don't think anybody can genuinely say, yes, it's 100% that. I'm sure if Mr. Beast went and did gaming content, it still would hit a little bit. That doesn't mean that it's going to affect or do the same thing that he does every single time, though.
He used to do gaming content.
He still does that, though. There's Mr. Beast Gaming, and that's like 10
I was saying,
30
I was saying
whatever.
on his actual channel. Like, if he just flipped it back and started combining all his channels, I don't think it would hit the same, but I think it probably would still hit. It just kind of, the degradation would still be there.
I feel like Mr. B, like, I think you get to a point where you get so popular, YouTube just auto recommends you and will not drop you out of the algorithm. That's the biggest issue, is getting in there. And if you get in there, then you don't have to worry. Like, or to a degree, you can like shit yourself out of it if you make like just terrible content for a while. What I've noticed is there's also different series. Like, I'll look at another content creator in the same space, and one video they upload always gets 300K, and then the other thing they upload always gets like 30K. I'm like, why can't I even get one to do well?
Yeah, it's really, really odd. And it seems like it's so temperamental depending on what it is. Like, even in Pokemon, like how you upload, when people do content with certain games in the Pokemon series and stuff like that, they're completely dead. But if you do one specific thing or the newest game, it's huge. But yet certain titles and stuff are shit on.
Don't forget the algorithm, like this thing of like automatic subtitles, was not for the deaf. That was so that the algorithm could better categorize your video. And it'll do things that are supposed to be good but end up being bad. So for example, I had a really stupid video where I made a Call of Duty waifu, Tomahawk Chan. And we did stupid anime stuff. It was like a skit, right? And I had it say, oh, you know, Tomahawk Senpai and Driftor-kun and this kind of stuff, right?
Oh,
But the algorithm, since it's text to speech, it took kun, K-U-N, which is a Japanese thing, and turned it into C-O-O-N. And I got an actual irrevocable community strike for racism.
God
so
damn.
Fun.
I thought they were going to go sexual content. I was waiting for that part.
No, I mean, it was kind of sexual. It was kind of like, but that wasn't, they don't care about that. I know how to keep things within limits. Oh, it did such stupid things like that. Or I remember in the Call of Duty scene, when Call of Duty World War II first came out, that was also around the time, I think, of Charlottesville and maybe just before. So they were rolling out a lot of like anti-Nazi protocols. So anything World War II related just got sucked right into that. And it was so hard to make content. And I don't think it's a violation of NDA, but I'm aware that Activision had to like demand a meeting with YouTube and force them to change certain aspects of the algorithm to allow Call of Duty content to flow.
Also, AI image recognition on guns. Just
Mm-hmm.
if it's a video game gun, doesn't matter because it's a gun. Boom, mature content or just get shit on. There was a point where YouTube didn't do that maliciously, or like they didn't use it to regulate content as hard, but they used it for the algorithm. So that's when I was like also really popping on the channel, because I'd start every video with like my thumbnail and description and keyword tripling. So everything would just be like new Pokemon Sun and Moon guide. And then those were the first tags and keywords and descriptions and stuff.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah. So it used to be beneficial when you did that. But now I don't even think that they're doing it for the algorithm as much for a boost, because it got exploited so much. So like, oh, this worked for a bit, YouTube didn't like it, and now it's used to hurt creators.
I wonder if you turn off all the closed captioning and all that shit, if it actually pushes you in the algorithm faster.
Nope, worse. Like if you look at a lot of channels, it'd be like has closed captions, closed captions, and those are the more successful videos they upload.
That's weird.
Accessibility or something.
I recently got told that for my short form content on Twitter, I have to put subtitles on it. Like basically all of it has to have hard subs.
That you personally type, or that are auto?
That I don't type. Adobe Premiere auto subs. Yeah. It'll render them on from almost any voice.
I just know some people are like, yeah, I had to auto type all of that, of what I said and everything.
Yeah, the team wanted me to do it, and I was really kind of pissed about it at first, but it does weirdly seem to work, because a lot of people, TikTok, Twitter, stuff like that, they're scrolling on mute and they're not going to listen, so having the subs is good. That was actually one of the secret sauces to the in-depth series for COD guides, was text on screen. So I had a lot of people that maybe didn't speak English as fast as I speak it, or were able to watch in a loud environment that could watch, and I would have the important bits of what I say like in a little text scroll across the top, and they were able to get a lot of info out of that. So I don't know, that's a whole weird thing to do scrolling content instead of long form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really weird to try and break down like stories and stuff like that with them actually allowing 10-minute clips now. It kind of is different, but when I'm sitting here trying to break it down into 1.5, 2-minute clips, it's absolutely retarded. You're sitting there record, unrecord. And it's just like, what the fuck else am I going to do? You got to kind of break it up as the story flows. If you don't break it up how it flows, it's not going to sound right.
I really wish YouTube Shorts would copy TikTok and allow for, I think, instead of 1 up to 3 minutes would allow for so much more creativity.
TikTok's up to 10 now for everybody.
Yep. For everybody? I thought you had to have a certain follower count.
Nope. I even have it available to me.
Oh, nice. I've been regularly shit posting on TikTok. It rewards me. The stupider posts I make, the less research I put into it, and the worse opinion that I have, and I've done this deliberately, the more successful it is.
I've been fishing to see what, like, if the tags in the title and stuff actually affect searchability and how much that interacts with like hashtags, or if it's just the title itself, or if there's any correlation in between the two. So I have one TikTok that has Andrew Tate in the title, just to see if it would connect and hit 3 times the views in 6 hours. And then all of a sudden it died. I was like, oh, okay. So now I know what I'm doing. Just hit on every single trend in the title. That's all I have to do.
That's why I don't use TikTok. Even though I know it would do good things, I personally am too disgusted by what you have to do to metagame it. No, I just want to make my content, man.
Good for you. That's the way to do it. Absolutely. You should try uploading anti-China stuff to TikTok. It'll detect it in seconds.
I'm too down bad to even want to have fun with the platform.
I heard that if you post this text thing in War Thunder, which is like a free-to-play or something like that, tank sim, if you post anything negative about the Chinese overlords or anything that says the Warrior Emperor poo or anything like that, all of a sudden the account gets banned and everything else, it just disappears.
I have heard that too.
And I was like, that is fucking insane. Because you know that shit's coming to COD. They're owned by Tencent. All of it.
They are not owned by, the Tencent has invested into them. They're mostly owned by Microsoft now.
Yeah, it's like what, 8 or 9% that they own for it to be be
COD Mobile is like that though. You can't talk shit about China on COD Mobile. I think there was a time, I think I was supposed to consult for COD Mobile. Like some people from Tencent and one of the dev studios hit me up. And they were like, yeah, we're just going to do a quick background check. And as long as you pass that, we'll have you consulting. And then it was like silence, not even answering emails, because I have a couple of colorful anti-China videos out on my channel.
Like, it shouldn't even matter that much, because if you're actually trying to create a monotheistic ideology, having somebody who's dissenting within your ranks of like even content creation at that point of like saying, hey, don't do this with this game, push it this way or balance it this way, it shows that you're allowing people to speak, even if you're not. Because then it's showing you're not silencing every single ideology. Look,
True. Oh, it gives you the illusion of being the good guy. It's fine, even if they talk shit to me.
Yeah, exactly. You're allowing people to be a part of things. You don't like what they say, but you keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Oh, they shit on me all the time. They're still here though. They're not dead yet. Like if Putin started all of a sudden killing everybody that dissented from him, you know, a lot of people in Russia would disappear.
Well, a lot of people are disappearing there because not a lot of them want to be conscripted.
Yeah,
but more would.
And people disappear in China. Oh, I interrupted.
No. I just said, and more would.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. That's what I'm saying is like the more you integrate different ideologies and show that you're integrating them even a little bit, or even sort of showing their ideology, your ideology becomes stronger.
But not every ideology holds that sort of philosophy.
Oh, absolutely. But that's the same problem that we're seeing in politics now. Everybody's so far on the extremes, they're not allowing anybody in the center to talk, and then both are going to end up dying because either you follow one or you don't follow the other.
Yeah, we're literally seeing a real-world example of the tolerance paradox.
Mm-hmm. Everything is so polarized. Everything is so one side or the other. Everybody else wants to slit each other's throats, and it's just like, what the fuck are we doing?
Dude, it's so bad. It's so bad. Like, you know what? This should not be a politics stream. I'm in Texas, so I will complain about things. Let's move on.
See, that's how bad it is. Like, it will always fall into that where it's like, we have one moment to pull out, or we're going to start talking about how everyone hates each other.
And then we're going to have 45 minutes of conversation about random ass bullshit that happened six months ago that still all of a sudden isn't affected.
And all the fans are going to be like, great, that's what I wanted to see on the podcast, more politics.
And someone's going to get called based, and then...
Yeah, and then everybody else is an idiot. That's all it is. So obviously, the way both of you guys create content is kind of breaking it down, whether you're trying to say, oh, look, patch this, buff this, make this better, make this worse. This is bullshit. This is broken. Like, how the fuck do you let this through? Obviously, Verlis, I know you probably haven't talked to the Japanese overlords of Pokemon, but
I wish.
When you have those conversations, Drifter, with devs and stuff, and you're bringing up problems of how to fix things or balance things, do they actually take your ideology and your thoughts into consideration when you're trying to balance things? Or do they just kind of blow you off and give you bullshit of like, yeah, well, this is the way we wanted the game?
I've definitely experienced both. I've had the blessing of meeting the leadership of almost every COD studio over the last decade or so. So I have definitely experienced both of those things, and a third one. I had a developer tell me once that my ideas are bad and wrong. I can actually respect that kind of honesty. That doesn't hurt my feelings, you know. I will say the majority of the time in recent years, the feedback has been taken. So for example, you may not know this about Warzone, but the armor feedback system was invented by YouTubers, because, you know, you shoot people in Call of Duty and you have that squishy like body hit marker sound effect.
Oh, the crack?
Yeah, the crack thing, that was a YouTube thing, because we played it like a month or two before the reveal. And it was like me and Marksman and Prestigious Key, and we were talking to the lead developer, Pat Kelly, and we were telling them it's really bizarre that we shoot people and they've got 200 plus health and they just squish and squish and squish and they just don't die. And we said, we really would like to know if we're shooting somebody that's armored or not armored, or some gauge of their health or situation. Nice. And as I think we were comparing to Apex. So then they came up with the system with the armor hit marker and then the armor crack and then the flesh. And that worked really well. And that's a good example of devs like listening to YouTubers. Sometimes they do listen.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of shit about this specific game coming up, that they're like, yeah, we're not changing red dots on mini maps. We're not changing this. We want the game to be harder for better players. So that way the easier players can actually succeed. And I was just like, what the hell? I was like, that's the most insane thought to just come across.
Fortnite-ification. It's ruining all the games.
Fortnite isn't that bad. You get red dots on Fortnite.
I'm trying to make it as like the meme where like when you're playing a game that used to be a bit more serious, like this is starting to feel Fortnite silliness coming in. I've played Fortnite. I'm not like trying to shit on it. I love Fortnite without building. Like that was what the game needed. But then when like something too wacky happens, like kind of miss my PUBG vibes.
PUBG was a real mood because that was so new. The experience, even if it was a bad, buggy one, was so fresh and fun. I have so many good memories.
Oh, so many.
I was hoping Warzone 2 was actually going to be like PUBG and Blackout having a baby with like Warzone and just trying to go back to what battle royales were when they were hard. And it's just not going to be.
I have no idea what it's going to be. What the YouTubers told me and what we saw at the reveal event was something very, very early in alpha. I'm going to guess, and even just like an older build that was just stable that they could run. And it like barely booted in 720p and had missing textures and stuff. So like, I really think that what we saw in the reveal is not representative of what the full game is going to be. Better or worse, I don't know.
Honestly, what we saw in that reveal, if that's anywhere close, it's scary. It's scary because the game itself, Modern Warfare 2, the beta itself ran okay. But the balance and how things worked was way too convoluted for what it actually was.
COD's a dumb game. You run and gun and shoot. Yep. That's what I found myself not able to do. I play COD as a rusher. I rush in, footsteps ablazing, guns shooting. I'll kill 2 people and get dropped. I don't care. This one's a little more siege-like. They want you to be slow and like listen and be tactical. And I'm like, no, I want to just jump off a ladder and quick scope somebody because that's fun. I'm not playing COD. If I wanted to play a serious competitive game, I'd be on Valorant, you know?
Yeah. You're looking for the highlight reel when you're playing COD. You got to just meme it up.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the game has been for a decade. So
that's why I liked when like Warzone came out. It was kind of the in-between like how Fortnite feels and PUBG. Just like, I don't have to be as serious, but my skill still matters.
I'm just thinking about all the battle royales that came out now. Do you remember what was the one that Ubisoft released that was on the Hyperscape? Was that it? Oh my God. It was like Quake BR. There's Tetris BR. Fall Guys is a type of
Tetris
BR
99 is pretty good.
Yep. I remember there was one Ring of Elysium or something like that. It was basically a crisis mod for BR. I think I didn't like any of it except it was the one game where they made the zone absolutely brutal. Even at like level 1, it would kill you in 5 or 6 seconds. And while you were in it, you couldn't see hardly anything. So it was really weird to play a BR where the zone actually mattered.
I'm just thinking like how that was when MOBAs came out. Like when, even though League of Legends copied Dota, everyone's trying to copy League of Legends, and you have just like a million of those coming out. That was.
I remember that.
Yeah.
League blazed the trail for free to play.
It really did.
Were you a League player?
Oh, I still am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, so am I, sort of.
Well, that's why I said I came into the podcast. I was like, oh, League of Legends Worlds is going on, and Zach's pulling me out of it.
So who's your main? My
main? Man, that's a hard question because I've been playing since season 2. So my mains have like come and gone. Yeah. My friends been playing since like beta, and they were trying to get me for so long. And I had the game all wrong. Like the way they were talking about, I'm like, what is this World of Warcraft shit? Because what they were talking about with like Dota and Warcraft and all these other things. I'm like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I don't care about this. And then like I finally saw it. I was like, oh, this is actually interesting. So yeah, we were playing a while ago. But fuck, I couldn't, like, I have pretty much always played a Mumu is where we're at right now.
Wow. That is okay. I will tell you that your counter is a perfect counter to my main.
Yi?
Who is my main? It's not Yi.
Okay.
I would tell you, it's a very old champion. Huh?
Katarina.
Rammus.
Oh, all right.
And Amumu is all like magic damage, which Rammus doesn't have as great a defenses against.
And then health shred.
Yeah, the percent health shred. So all the stuff that I do as my basically an anti-AD tank is made useless.
Yeah, you're trying to
It's
dive
so
onto
annoying.
the AD, you get bandaged, and they get held into place, and then you're bleeding out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I used to love playing Rammus when, especially, you would see this thing where it would be like they have an AD top, and they would play an AD mid, and maybe even an AD jungler, because Yi would be really popular. And like, well, I'm just gonna buy a stone plate and let you hit on me. But I don't do League anymore. I'm on Teamfight Tactics. Do you play Teamfight Tactics?
A little bit. I just never got into it.
Gotcha.
I didn't like the champion pool that like you have to like roll faster than other people. If you're trying to build your compositions, you have to change it too much and see what other people are doing because there's limited. I didn't like that. It feels too restrictive for me.
Gotcha. No, I mean, it is restrictive. It's a simplified, dumbed down version, but for me, that's been great. And my hands are a little fucky these days, so I can't click very well, but I can just boop, boop, boop on mobile. So that's been really nice. What has driven me insane, though, is, hear me out on this, okay? Teamfight Tactics is on season 7.5 or something. They've had 100 and I want to say it's 140 champions now. They've had 139 out of 140 champions. They had Silco. They had characters on Teamfight Tactics before they came out in main League of Legends. They added like 12 imaginary dragons. They've added a mech and all the jungle creatures. The one character to not be in Teamfight Tactics after almost 2 or 3 years is Rammus. I don't know why, but it hurts me.
Damn.
It's weird. I've never actually gotten into those games and tried to like sit there and figure them out or anything like that. The most in-depth kind of game like that I've sat here and played was competitive Pokemon. Like I haven't gotten into like super MMO kind of stuff. It just hasn't been my thing. It's been weird.
What about FPS MMOs? Because games like Overwatch were essentially knockoff first-person League of Legends is.
I haven't gotten Overwatch. The most kind of Overwatchy kind of thing that I played was Valorant, which I played
Overwatch
for like.
I loved Overwatch.
5 or 6 days worth. I do apologize. The baby does not want to go to sleep. Just that way, the chat. If they hear anything, that's why I ran away. I'm going to check on the baby.
We got a dog showing up. We got a baby. My dog's over there doing things. It's totally fine.
Oh, she's going to start growling and talking here real soon.
Last time Verlis was on the show, she got really mad and told him to go to bed, was nudging him the entire time that he was on camera. It was absolutely hilarious.
She's just silly husky.
Mouthy, as I've heard.
Oh, yeah. She was just going off the whole time like, what do you want? And then we'll see if she feels like talking.
But yeah, I played Valorant with Harley. We played probably 5 or 6 competitive matches for like 2-3 streams in a row, and then I was like, this isn't my thing. I don't like cartoony kind of things. It's just weird. Like,
do you watch anime?
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not a senpai follower kind of guy. Just not.
Well, then I guess I shouldn't recommend the Cyberpunk anime to you. It was so good. I
didn't see that.
They released the anime, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, that Studio Trigger made, that you might know from Kill la Kill, Darling in the Franxx, and stuff like that.
My friends were talking about because they're fans of that, and I was like, I haven't had too much interest.
Gotcha. It was super good. It was like 10 episodes on Netflix, so it has that problem of so Studio Trigger's famous for doing fast pace, and they only had the budget for like half a season, so they put a whole season of content in just a few episodes, so it moves at like breakneck speed, which is okay.
Yeah, I always find that shit super odd because like either the pacing is really odd or it's just super fantastical and it's stuff that you couldn't do in real shows anyway. So it's the stuff that I wouldn't watch, which is where it kind of gets fucky. It's like either super fantastical where it's completely unbelievable and you can't suspend, like I can't suspend my thought to go into it, or I just don't get connected to my ADHD. It's like, no, I don't care.
I feel you. A lot of anime will have like slow pace buffer episodes, cheap animation, that kind of stuff gets boring. And then other ones is like magical schoolgirl transformation, corn attack, go. And it's too much. Delta 8 cannabis products, they marry very, very well to anime, just as a recommendation. It makes it all make a lot more sense.
I definitely could see how that works. The only thing that I ever get from Delta 8 is I just start feeling wavy. Like everything just feels light, everything feels airy, and I just feel super calm. I don't feel pain anymore, and just everything feels wavy, and that's it.
Well, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah. It actually gets rid of all my pain, which is the beneficial thing. I don't have all the neck and nerve shit, and that just is 99% of the problems.
At that point, it's like, this is it's the thing. It works.
Yeah, me and Drifter, from the first time that he was on, from when I started producing and that shit, like we've been talking about like nerve pain and all that shit, because I was talking to him about some of the shit I was dealing with my neck, and he ended up dealing with similar shit.
Right.
Which was fucking hilarious. You have a rare problem, and all of a sudden it's just, oh, you meet somebody else with it, and it's interesting to kind of aid them and make sure that they're okay with it. And know the kind of outcomes of this shit, because this shit's bad. The surgery definitely was not worth it.
It's tough when it's just like, dude, just go to a doctor, and you go to a doctor that looks maybe just like eyeballs you for like 10 minutes, is like, you look fine, go home.
Yeah.
Or, if your problem's not diabetes, heart, liver, maybe,
if they can't
like, I don't know what to do with this. Nerves?
Yes.
I don't know.
Originally, so I can't say who the hell it was, because obviously closed lawsuits and workers' comp bullshit. Can't talk about that shit. But I can tell the story, because the story's fucking hilarious. So originally, I went in and I couldn't feel my entire arm, just in the middle of the day. And I was throwing trucks every single day. So I was a truck unloader, and I would do back-to-back trucks. I'd do all 3 trucks if we had 3 trucks that day. I didn't stop. I have ADHD. I just go. You tell me I'm going to lose my job if the shit's not done, then make sure that they work, and I will do everything in here. This is the harder job. Do the easy job and sort the shit. So eventually I ended up developing really, really fucky shit. Like, I thought I tore my rotator cuff. I couldn't lift my arm. I felt nerve pain going all the way through my face and neck and shit. So I went to urgent care in the middle of a shift. I told the manager, I was like, hey, I'm going to urgent care. Fill out the paperwork. I'll bring it over whenever I'm done. Like, I don't really care. I'm not worried about leaving work or anything like that. I have kids. I have to come back. I have to work. I have to get paid. It just is what it is. So about 3 months later, I told him, I was like, I can't keep going. You guys didn't give me the management position to get me to stop using my arm and my neck. You guys didn't do anything that you guys said you were going to. I'm going on workers' comp now. You bribed me and bribed me and bribed me and didn't give me any of it. So I'm leaving now. And I got screamed at for 3.5 hours in a closed room that
Why didn't you just leave?
I had to fill out the workers' comp paperwork, or no workers' comp case.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So I had to get screamed at, get told that I'm being ignorant and retarded. And the only reason that this is even remotely going through is because that I was actually being talked to about management, and I scored one of the highest management scores in the entire store and everything else. I was like, yeah, really, if that's what it was, you guys would have promoted me to the department and section manager like you guys said you were going to. No, we wouldn't have done that. You're too vocal and too aggressive. I was like, okay, sure, whatever. So I go out. Next day, I see the orthopedic guy. He's like, I think this is a torn rotator cuff. I see no structural damage. I see no extra ribs. I see nothing. Just absolutely nothing weird structurally. But there's so much more that could be wrong. But I think it's a torn rotator cuff. I'm going to push you onto a spine specialist, and you'll end up having surgery on your shoulder, and you'll be fine. It'll be fixed within probably 6 to 9 months. So,
she steals the show.
Yep, every time. So they pushed me onto this Indian fucking spine specialist that had absolutely no idea what the hell is going on. He's like, yeah, your job is calling me, and I'm telling them you can go back. I said, so I've seen no relief. He's like, I see nothing wrong with you. You're a young man. I don't care.
Dude, that was like my experience exactly. First round of doctors, a lot of that.
For like 3.5 months. This dude's
this is like real life Dr. House, isn't it?
He's like, you
100%
100% can go back. What are you talking about? I said, I get migraines to the point where I pass out. I have no feeling in my arm and it turns purple, which means loss of blood flow, the normal kind of bullshit when you sit on your hand and it turns purple. That's a problem, but you stop sitting on it and it goes back normal. Mine doesn't. I can walk around a store for 5 minutes and my entire arm's purple. So that means I can't walk anywhere without passing out. What are you saying I could do? So they send me to the in New York State, when you're on workers' comp, you have to be evaluated by a New York State doctor that the place that you applied for workers' comp through paid for. So they are completely in it for the business that you got injured at. So every single time other than the first time, he found me at 75% disabled. He's like, you're not disabled. You can go back to work. I see that you have a little bit of malfunction, but you're good. So I ended up going and having to find a thoracic surgeon completely on my own, get a script from the Indian doctor who thought I was faking to go to this other surgeon because he had no idea what the fuck I was telling him I had. So then I go to this vascular surgeon. He's like, you have the most stereotypical case I've ever seen in my life. He's like, you have thoracic outlet syndrome. He said, I don't even have to do the test. You showed me the picture. The picture says it all. He said, your hands are sitting on the resting bar of a cart that you push on. One of them is bright fucking purple and almost black, and the other one is normal colored. I'm sure that is not a normal person thing. I've only seen that with people with neurological and vascular problems. Your vascular problem is right here. And he's like, does this hurt?
Purple, you know?
Does this hurt? And I'm like, yeah, that hurt. How about here? That hurt. Ow. And then he poked the spot in my back that they thought was the rotator cuff, and it shot everything right up my face all the way to my nose. He's like, and you're going to sleep now. Back in 2 seconds. He's like, wow, at least you get good rebound. That's kind of weird. He's like, so I'm going to set you up for testing that they'll inject you with a whole bunch of dye. They'll inject you with a whole bunch of Novocaine to make sure everything is good. After that comes back positive, not a single person can dispute it, because I guess thoracic outlet syndrome is a bit questionable, because some doctors think that it's fake. Some doctors think that it's completely all made up. And then some people actually understand that there's things that can cause neurological disorders. So he's like, you're going to get these guided ultrasound needles in your neck, in the back of your head, and in your chest. It's not going to be fun, but you're going to have to do it. You're just going to have to. Like, there's nothing that you can do to get around this. You're just going to have to do it. So they couldn't even numb up my neck until they started injecting me with Novocaine. So I have needles that are like, not normal size needles, but like they're sounding rods essentially that they're shoving in my neck and feeling around with the muscles and everything else and counting the muscles to make sure they're all there. They're like, so if this wears off within 30 minutes, you have a positive test. If it wears off sooner, you need to call the hospital, because we're going to be setting you up for surgery within the next month and a half. Because like this is emergency level.
Yeah.
I lived 50 miles away from my doctor. I couldn't get 20 minutes out of the, like I had to go 5 minutes out of the city and then get on a highway, and I was not even 20 miles away from the city. Medicine completely gone. My wife watched me as we pulled off the highway, just completely black. She's like, did you? Yep, it did. Just gone. Completely passed out as we were leaving the thruway. She's like, you're gone. There's nothing that this is going to do for you. Just completely black. I wake up probably about 5 minutes later. She's like, your pain's back, isn't it? She's like, yep. So he started me immediately on, what the hell is that nerve medication that they're trying to classify as a narcotic now? What the fuck is it? It made me super fucking sick. You put me on like 5 different dosages of it too. Can't fucking think of it.
Not as familiar.
It's not benzodiazepines, no. But whatchamacallit, they put me on that shit. I was like, this isn't helping. Like, obviously I'm still having problems. The temperature really fucking hurts. Like, I can't fucking do anything. We're going into winter. Can we handle this, please? So the day before Thanksgiving, he's like, okay, we're going to schedule you a month out. You go into surgery the day before Christmas. Okay, I guess we're doing this. So my kids,
that's better than nothing.
Yeah, I wasn't, like, I couldn't, he even told me, he's like, this is a 50-50 shot if this works at all. There's an 80% chance you're going to have symptoms still. So I'm flipping a 20 if I have nothing. He's like, there's also a 75% chance you lived out of the surgery. And I had to look at my pregnant wife and be like, yep, you know what? I'm signing the paperwork. Because what the fuck are you going to do? Like,
Yeah, it's that bad. You gotta go.
not only that,
Yeah.
like, you can't have an off button for life. Like, if you absolutely can remove that off button, you try. I still, at some points, I fucking pass out from migraines. I still pass out from neck pain. It just happened last week. Like, I was laying in bed trying to get rid of my nerve pain, wrapped up in a blanket, trying to warm myself up in 75-degree weather because I was too cold. And it just, black. 20 minutes, gone. Out of my day. Just no idea where the fuck that went. Wasn't tired, sitting up, completely normal, in bed, gone. So I had to tell my kids goodbye on Christmas Eve. I wrote both of them letters. I wrote all my kids letters, and then I wrote my wife a letter saying, hey, anything happens, this is everything. This is where the money is. Sue these people. These are who you need to handle. They are at fault for my injury. These are who you need to deal with. And just goodbye. I love you. I hope everything's okay. Who the hell
Spit in
knows
that
what's gonna
Indian
happen?
doctor's face, please. For
Yeah,
me.
like, just, show him what his country does. Walk into the doctor's office. All three of you shit on the floor, please. Just show them what they do. And I hope this helps. Just, even if I'm not here, I hope the money helps. I hope everything else helps, because I can't keep going if I have to deal with this. I was in the hospital for a fucking week, and I was pushing every single fucking day to get back. First fucking thing I do after surgery. I'm still in recovery. They're like, okay, we're going to wheel you up to your room. Every 5 minutes, I'm like, I need something to drink. I need something to eat. So they get me up to my room. First thing I say when I wake up, when can I get these fucking things off my leg? When can I take a piss? And I need to eat something now. They're like, well, but we could take those things off your legs when you get up to pee, and then you can eat as soon as you get up to pee. I said, then I'm pissing now. Like, help me. And he had to carry me all the way to the toilet and all the way back. I was like, but that's going to be the worst time. He's like, you have a drain, you have an IV. Do not get up without either your wife sitting here helping you or me helping you, because you will rip out parts of your chest. You will fall over. Do not do this by yourself. I said, I'm not asking my pregnant wife to help me over to the bathroom. Not because I don't want her to see me piss. I don't want her fucking me falling on her, regardless of how fucking small I am. No, just no. So I sit down. He brings me this fucking menu. The weirdest fucking menu for a hospital I've ever seen. It was like one of those shitty diners that you go to where all of the lunch menu is $19 per person, but it's all food that you could have gotten from McDonald's. So I look through it and I'm like, you know what? A barbecue chicken sandwich sounds good. I expected like a fried chicken sandwich with like a little bit of barbecue sauce on it. No, they brought me up a grilled piece of chicken that looks like it's been left out for 3 days. And it came with tater tots. I don't fucking like tater tots. I barely like French fries. And they were fried, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, that I'm eating fried food from a fucking hospital. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. But I ended up eating 3 tater tots. And by the time I got the 3rd tater tot down my throat, because they trached me, because they're removing muscles from my neck, they had to make sure that there was enough pressure in my throat for it not to collapse. Every piece of chicken, every single tater tot was still in my throat as I swallowed it. And I fucking threw up everywhere. I coated an entire fucking hospital room in vomit. It was not fucking fun. Then I came home and I proceeded to go back to doing every single thing like I was before, and there was no fucking changes. My doctor looked at me. He's like, you didn't heed my warning of not lifting things and doing things, did you? I said, I have a pregnant wife. Did you really think I was going to? He said, no, you're a man. I understand you weren't going to, but legally, I have to tell you that you're a moron. I said, yep, I am. But that baby's life's more important than my shoulder. I'm going to keep doing it. He said, good. You're a good guy. Now go wrap yourself up in tape and keep going. Because that's the only thing that fucking helped was KT tape. That shit was fucking horrible. And then I proceeded to get a KT tape sponsor for this podcast for like 6 months. That was an absolute blast at the beginning of this show. But yeah, thoracic outlet is not something to fuck with, especially when you have all three of them. I had no blood flow to my hand or blood flow from my hand. No nerve. And they sent me for every single fucking test. So obviously, Drifter, thoracic outlet is not the only problem that you've had. And the one that kind of sticks out to me is slow T. And you go into this as much as you want to. I don't want to push you or prod you or be like, tell me the fucked up shit that happened. No, you tell me. But I don't know what my T level is. I don't think anybody genuinely does unless you genuinely feel like you have a problem.
Your what level?
My T level. Like, I don't know what my T level is. So, like, I don't know if I'm low. I don't know if I'm high. I just kind of know that I'm a person and I kind of work. I don't have a problem. Therefore, why the fuck go looking for problems? So how did that genuinely affect you? Like, what made you be like, testosterone answer?
Well, if people are watching this show, I do want to say that the things that I'm about to say are literally exactly the opposite of what should happen. And because my symptoms were so weird, it delayed my treatment a bit.
Yeah.
So I was kind of in my late 20s, early 30s. I was going through some little struggles in my life, and I was definitely getting some form of depression. So I went to go see a doctor and a psychiatrist, all that stuff about it, and got the pills, and it helped a little. It wasn't an end all be all fix. I stopped the psychiatric treatment.
Did it make
and then about a year later it was
like, did it bring your high highs down and your low lows up and kind of just made everything like shit?
I've taken things that do that. It did not do that. It did a baby version of that. It just prevented extremes. It didn't scrunch it all together. But the point was that probably wasn't the problem at all. So hormones out of balance, but I didn't know. But about a year after quitting all that stuff, the bottom fell out from me, and I kind of went almost manic. The original doctor and diagnosis was going to be bipolar, but it was almost always mania. I slept maybe 4 hours a night. I was sexually active 2 to 4 times a day, if possible. Constantly working out. I was getting really sort of like twitchy and irritable and kind of hard to be around, and just sort of like somebody who's just hitting line after line of blow, right? And on a whim, a friend of mine, J-Hub, recommended that I check my testosterone. So I asked the doctor to do it, and the doctor just on her whim threw it in there, and it came back. I want to say it was 37 NGDL, which for reference, men's testosterone, our age men, should be 400 to 700 ish. Anything under 250 is considered low. Anything under 100 is really low, and I'm down there at like 30 ish. I'm at like a little bit over 10% of what would already be. It was off the charts, and the doctor didn't believe it at all. He thought, because I was complaining about totally different stuff, and he's like, "You're supposed to have erectile dysfunction, and you're supposed to be fat and depressed and this kind of stuff." I'm not. He legitimately thought I was cheating the test somehow to get T injections so I could get yoked at the gym. So I had to do all this other stuff. And every time they tested it, it was always like less than 100, and it was really bad. So I got that taken care of. And all of a sudden, in like a week, my mind just came back to me, and I could sleep, and sexual activity went down to normal levels, and not 4 times a day, every single day, So that was a godsend. But if I had not followed up on the whim of a friend, the testosterone would not have been checked, and I would have been prescribed antipsychotics under the label of bipolar.
It's weird what bipolar actually comes up. So I'm going to be way more transparent than normally I am with especially this specific thing. So I have extremely bad ADHD. Like, I bounce off the fucking walls unless I'm medicated on my Adderall, which is what I'm medicated on. And they're even splitting my dose so that way it's dosaged correctly at the specific time when I need it. They're having me take 15 milligrams when I get up and 15 with breakfast. So that way it hits me individually at the same time. It's kind of fucking retarded. But it's also easier to find because every single pharmacy is out of 30 milligram tablets anywhere within 30 miles of me, which is fucking retarded. But My psych before this one, because I asked her how to deal with ADHD paralysis, was like, yeah, you have bipolar too. I said, no, I don't. No, I'm going through absolute hell in life. I'm dealing with absolute hell life-wise with my relationships. Everything other than my kids is going shitty right now. And you're telling me that that's not acceptable to be acting irrational towards those things with anger. That to me sounds pretty normal, especially when you're a pretty calm, level-headed dude. Yeah, I'm depressed. I'm fucking depressed. I'm telling you I'm depressed. I'm not hiding it. I'm telling you I'm depressed. Don't tell me that I'm bullshitting and saying that I have bipolar 2. That makes absolutely no sense that I'm still okay enough to handle these things and put myself back together enough to where I'm okay. And I'm telling you that I have this little problem where I have a problem getting motivated enough to get up off a chair and take a pill to start. That's all I need you to tell me how to handle it. I'm not even asking for medicine. I just want the tactile way to handle it. And you all of a sudden slap on 15 diagnoses because I ask you for help.
Yeah.
I'm
in the same boat. It was
Sounds
like,
about right.
I was like,
I got sick and fucked up, right?
Yeah.
Similar kind of stuff is what you went through. It's where it's like, oh man, I tied my shoes today. It's a good day, And the doctor or the therapist or psychiatrist is like, wow, you seem like really depressed and you have a lot of anxiety about your health. And I'm like, yes, because the last time I poured a glass of like milk, it broke my wrist. I feel like people would have anxiety about things like that. And they're like, yeah, bro, that needs treatment. And I'm like, not the brain part. That's not the part that needs the treatment. So let's take this in a different direction. Verlis, what's wrong with you? It's like a group session we both shared.
If there's something wrong with me, we haven't figured it out yet. I just get through. I don't like have like some go like, oh, that's terribly wrong. Let me go and get that checked out. Like, just vibe.
You should enjoy that. I was that for a long time. That's a nice place to be. I do not take it for granted, especially after hearing you guys on the podcast. I'm like, I hope nothing's wrong with me. I think I feel like a good T individual. I can get motivated. I have my ups and downs. Downs when you're getting fucking dislike botted. And also one shitty thing that happened to me 5 years ago was I got hit with wire fraud when trying to buy a house. So I lost $100,000 on the down payment of a house. Yeah, that's always fun, right? I assume you didn't, by the attitude here, I assume you didn't get it back.
Oh, absolutely not. Like,
did you put a wrong number, or did they put a wrong number, or?
So what they were doing was there's like an email spoofing thing going on. It's actually like super common now, but I was one of the first people to get hit by it, like 5 years ago or something. So with that going on, no one had like the protections for it. Like everyone just thought everything was going correctly, but what they do is they like get into the servers, or they get like all the information about the transactions. And then when the wire details go out, you get a spoofed email of their wire instructions, not where your money's supposed to be going. So I called up my agent. I was like, yo, everything looking good? Yeah, everything's looking good. And then I went to the bank. We wired it. I show up the next day and they're like, we never got your money. And then I talked to every lawyer, the bank, the escrow company, the real estate agents, their companies. They're just like, that's wire fraud. It's gone.
So like the bank just can't undo that with digital money?
No, like the thing is, we were doing a 14-day close on the house. So we were like just expediting, rushing everything. And when I sent my wire, it was at like 3:56 p.m. right before it closed at like 4 p.m. for the wiring. So like it went out, and then we found out the next day that it was wrong, and then they just went. However, they have caught the guy, so. But now it's an overseas dude, so like if they, like the U.S. government has a hard time getting that money back. So that's what I mean, like the highs and the lows. And then
if you have a name and address, especially overseas, it only takes a little bit of U.S. dollars to go fuck somebody's day up. just the thought to put out there.
The government caught the guy. He's been prosecuted.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So like we just wrapped that up. So I'm dealing with that, and yeah. And then like later that year, after losing that money, that's when the dislike botting started. My channel has been dislike botted longer than it hasn't at this point.
I shouldn't laugh. That just is very absurd the way you say it. I apologize.
well, as you can see, I've kind of accepted everything that's happened. Like but that's what I mean. Like, so naturally, I'm going to be like in a shitty mood about that every once in a while. And also when it's like, this video should go viral. And I know there's absolutely no reason not, except for the botting. Damn. So I don't, but then I don't like hit any extremes that make me go, I need help. I still play Pokemon for a living.
Yeah.
I can't complain, which is bullshit.
Yeah, you got a limited amount of room to complain. Your job's not perfect. It's complicated. We could have a complaint cast, but you are a professional gamer in a sense. What
Exactly.
all 7-year-olds dream of being. So that's pretty good.
No, exactly. And that was the point that I had to that fucking psychiatrist. I was like, I'm happy. Like, I'm living exactly what the fuck I set out to do. I'm a fucking audio engineer for one of the largest podcasts in the world, and I'm trying to fight in what the hell I want to do with my life.
I am 10-year-old me's dream. I am a Pokemon master. How the fuck I did it, I don't know. But
you are a literal Pokemon master among masters, world renowned for your Pokemon prowess.
Professional Pokemon trainer, and that wasn't possible when I was growing up. I still wanted it.
It's like, you're telling me that I should be more depressed, essentially. You're telling me that what I'm doing and what I'm dealing with isn't acceptable, that I have to be bipolar, I have to be manic right now. It's like, no, life is good. This one specific thing is shit, and I'm not even interacting or dealing with that at the precise moment. How can you tell me that right there puts me as bipolar when I've hid my emotions my entire life and I've helped every other person around me? If I was bipolar,
be a hammer and nail problem.
Couldn't deal that shit.
You know, like if they're only looking like they're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So
yeah, no, it's hilarious because I swapped my psych, and I just had my appointment on Friday, and I told her, I was like, they were talking about diagnosing me with PTSD because of trauma in my childhood and stuff like that. Like, is it mainly nightmares and like dealing with locations and stuff like that? I said, yeah. They're like, then we're not putting this in any of your charts or anything right now. Let's deal with your ADHD. Let's get everything under wraps. Let's get it covered by the insurance instead of you having to pay out your ass for every single medication that you're on. And then we'll start adding things that make those things more complicated, because then those things are already covered. I was like, yeah, that makes so much more sense than trying to give me 15 fucking diagnoses that all fucking make everything convoluted.
Yeah, sometimes you need to do one problem at a time. And if I'm not mistaken, that would be a wonderful way to transition into one of our topics about, you mentioned your past, and I don't want to get into that if you don't want to, but talk about religious upbringings affecting your past. So was anybody here raised very religious as a kid?
So I was baptized, and for like the first 2, maybe 3 years, I kind of went like every 1 or 2 weeks because I lived with my grandparents quite a bit of the time, but not all the time. But after that point, I kind of wasn't interested in the slightest to kind of handle that and be a part of that, because it just didn't interest me in the slightest. And as I grew older and as I got more kind of intelligent and kind of looked at things more skeptically, it just pushed me more and more farther away from it, because I saw like the dirty underlyings of it. Which is why I think like your upbringing and stuff with the things that you suffered with and dealt with is so interesting, because I feel like it would definitely kind of interlace themselves quite a bit. Like I grew up dealing with hearing about ghost stories and everything, and I assume you were probably rather similar.
Mine was a little more extreme. My family was very religious. Before we get to me, because mine's just totally crazy, Verlis, what about you? What was your religious upbringing?
It wasn't like that crazy. It was Seventh-day Adventist or whatever it's. And we would just go every week, and my mom just really religious, but not like overly forcing you on it, but like very reminding of how we need to respect the Lord and stuff. So I was like, all right, I can survive inside of this kind of idea. And I was like, yeah, it makes sense. But then you could also see some of the faults and the things that don't line up. You're like, oh, this is okay. That's a little weird, but yeah, it was just like a neutrally religiously strict kind of thing. And every once in a while there'd be like a weird thing that happened where mom would be like, I saw Pikachu in the clouds today. And then as I was watching the clouds, it warped into the devil because Pokemon is for the devil. Now, we're not going to, like, I didn't get my shit taken from me from that, but it was one of those things where it's like a reminder where it's like, remember when you're playing the devil's game, like that, you know, this isn't the devil's game, or like, it was just weird stuff like that. I'm like, okay, So
So your parents didn't do that. They evolve. Evolution is from Satan.
no, we didn't get that, but it was mostly
get
just
that.
like just don't lose your grounding and always be respectful of the Lord as these bad things are happening. I'm like, all right.
Well, you had good parents. Now, Seventh-day Adventist, I've personally found to be rather chill. I got the Southern Baptist thing going on mostly, and my parents were very. I don't know what your mom or parents would have been like, but mine were like very, how do I describe this? Almost like a bad movie. Like angels and devils are everywhere, and they're playing games with your lives, and the spirit world is constantly interacting with you, and God is constantly doing these things, and all these things are signs, and like a lot of magical kind of thinking. That was like a really kind of big part of my childhood. Only in the religious sense, which is weird because, as Zach was talking about, as a kid, saw things, really crazy things.
Oh, I've heard you on PK and stuff.
Okay.
I'm familiar with your backstory.
It's cool. We can skip that.
Yeah,
awesome.
Exactly.
But it was weird because I would see things like that, and they would tell me, "Well, that's not true because it's not in the Bible." And then later in the day, it would be like the cloud story. Well, they saw the cloud and it turned into Satan, and because there's a biblical symbolism, that makes sense. And I would say, "There's lights following me around everywhere I go," and they're like, "You watch too much movies." Which probably didn't help. I was watching a bunch of bad movies, but no, the religious upbringing made that aspect of things worse. I believe it kind of prepped or prompted my mind to be more accepting of things like that, or perhaps convinced my brain that things like that were normal. Because for a long time, probably ages 0 to 7 to 8, my world was made of magic. Magic was real. The Bible, 100% real. Ghosts, demons, devils, angels, all that stuff, all the little things they tell you, like when it's raining and the sun's out, that's the devil beating his wife. And if you tear a page of the Bible, they're going to burn you for 1,000 years in hell before you go to heaven, and like all this kind of crazy stuff. So I think that made the problem a lot worse.
We had that growing up, just not literal. It wasn't like this is absolutely what's happened, but it's like, might be a sign. We'll keep an eye on that. All right. Sure.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff like that for me too. So my brother passed away when I was 4. He was a twin of my sister, and he ended up passing away, whether it was Downs or something else that kind of went on. And then my grandmother passed away within like 4 or 5 months. So within 5 months, my mom lost her mom and her son. And I was essentially raised quite a bit by my grandparents. So that was very kind of emotional time in my life too. At 4, I was suicidal. So
that's pretty young.
That reaction, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I've heard that from Zach too. So shit.
So we had this Dodge Spirit at the time, and we were at the Ames parking lot, and I remember this piece for piece, the exact thing. I could tell you the individual details about what was in the trunk. That's how much I remember. My mom opened up the trunk and saw this book that had angels all over it and everything else. And it had a handwritten letter from my grandmother about how she missed us, how she'll take care of our brother, her son, everything else, and make sure that everything's okay. Don't worry about him. I've got him. You take care of the kids that are in front of you, and don't worry about anything else. And it was a letter to my mom. Not a single person put this in my mom's car. Nobody. It was given after my grandmother passed. Nobody else had keys to the car, so can't get into the trunk without keys because it's not one of the newfangled cars with the fucking door that you can go into the trunk from the inside.
I'm imagining like an old Buick. You got to like work the key.
It was a 1996 Dodge Spirit. If you know what that is, it's like a Crown Vic of Dodge. Piece of shit car. To the point where everything was kind of like transparent almost with that kind of stuff. So my mom had a shelf in his honor in the house and everything else. And it kind of like, it rubbed a lot of those things of like, yeah, well, angels are still around. His stuff's right there. We had this experience. Like, so I've seen shit too. Like, I completely understand. Like, I've seen an orb in the house that I live in. I had a psychic medium on this show just trying to explore what the hell was going on. Actually, when
which
I
episode
saw
was that? I gotta watch that one.
I'll send it to you.
Oh, sick.
I've had him on for like 2-3 times. He's a really, really interesting guest. But I was on the phone with him. I walked into my living room, walked past my TV, and I said, "What the fuck did I just see?" And like, I couldn't even get out what the hell I saw or anything like that. He said, "You just saw an orb." Like, without me prompting it, without anything, you just saw an orb. I said, The fuck? What color was it? I said, bright orange, about the size of a basketball, and it went through the floor. It emitted its own light down all the way down by the TV and jumped all the way through the room and went up towards my bedroom. Like, I have no answer for this other than what I exactly saw. I cannot explain it other than that because that's exactly what I saw.
No, I feel you, because you try to apply logic to that. You're not here trying to tell me that's a ghost and it's magic and it's totally definitely 100% a real thing. And if you had your camera, you'd be famous right now. But still, logical brain understanding of reality intact. It is what you saw. It is exactly as you experienced it, and you have no answers for who, what, when, where, why.
Yeah. And there's no connection of like, hey, this is what's going on. The next day or 2 days later, we did a podcast with that. I did a podcast with that psychic medium, and he told me, he's like, yeah, so I want to tell you, there's somebody standing behind you right now. I said, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what honestly are you talking about? And this is where my mind kind of got blown, which is why I wanted to bring up the whole religion aspect of what you dealt with and stuff like that. He's like, so there's a man with a ponytail standing behind you. He looks probably like 1700s-ish, maybe a little later, maybe a little earlier. Can't figure out exactly who it is, but he's standing with a horse and he keeps randomly turning around and pointing at his head, the back of his head, where he has his ponytail, and he's holding a quill. I said, do you want to shit yourself? He said, why? I said, well, who are these people normally? Let me go that far and just let you explain it first. He said, well, normally they're kind of somebody who attaches their soul onto you, or you're a recreation of them, because that's genuinely what happens. You supposedly were reborn 27 times. And I was like, that to me sounds like bullshit. That just honestly doesn't make sense. There's no way in hell that I've been around 80 years, 27 different times across all of life. That just doesn't work. He's like, yeah, he looks Declaration of Independency. And I said, so I've been thinking about this new titling or branding for the podcast. He said, what is it? I said, the New Founding Fathers. Because I thought like being boisterous and outward about your views probably was a good idea to kind of push towards, because a lot of people kind of at least respect it. Although they may not agree with your opinion, they respect that you're willing to say it and kind of back it up.
Yeah, Real Men Talk Shit has First Amendment vibes.
Yeah, definitely. So I said, I have 2 ancestors that signed the Declaration of Independence. One of them was the governor of a state when the country was founded, and one of them was one of the leaders of the armed forces. Benedict Arnold is one of my great ancestors, who is like a cousin, and he turned against the Union.
Hey,
Army.
He got a bad shake. As a kid, you learn he's evil. As an adult, his story is more complicated. He got kind of shafted and got mad about it.
But think about it this way. I live within the circle of Albany. That's 15 minutes out of Albany where that happened. So my uncle essentially turned his back on this country about less than 100 miles from where I live. And he's telling me, your great-grandfather standing right behind you right now. He's giving you the strength you need. Didn't prompt him, didn't tell him anything about this, nothing.
Yeah.
Just pulled it out of his ass. No idea where the fuck that came from. It could have been just a complete shot in the dark where it possibly could have connected, where I could have pulled some. But that is so much more detailed than the psychic mediums that are on TV that are like, yeah, so I see a 60-year-old woman. No, that's not a 60-year-old woman. That is revolutionary. Like, most people can't.
It's a very specific cold reading, you know?
Yeah. So I've done ancestry research recently, probably like 3-4 months ago. Not only do I have that part of the family, but one of the father and son duos, they fought each other in the Revolutionary War. The father ended up moving to Canada as a revolutionary for the British, and he fought his son face to face, and they led 2 armies against each other. And I was like, that is the most interesting fucking story I've ever heard. But yeah, so I've definitely dealt with the whole is this shit real or is it not real? Like, am I fucking psychotic, or is this logical, like, kind of aspect to it? Because genuinely, if you look at just religious text, it tells you that it's there. If you listen to some pseudo intellectuals that are kind of throwing in religion, they say it's there, but logic tells you it's not.
There's almost a definitional problem there. Supernatural is by its definition supernature, beyond nature. Yeah. And the very moment that things that we thought were supernatural are explained, they're suddenly not anymore. I'm hoping for a future a little bit more like Marvel promises with Thor, where magic and technology are kind of the same word to them because it's the same thing, because they understand it all. But no, applying logic to that doesn't work well. Talking about religious upbringing, I didn't get baptized until I was 18, which was a mark of shame for the whole family.
That sounds like an experience.
Yeah, I was like an atheist as a little kid, and I would argue with the youth pastor and the pastors, and they would sort of use logical puzzles and offer evidence of God. And I was a little smart-ass kid, and I'd read my science books, and I would have really good answers for why that's not true. But what really rubbed me the wrong way is there would be times where preachers, pastors, leadership figures would give presentations or sermons that in some capacity were misleading. And I don't mean a little bit. I mean, it would just be like pseudoscience in there. The Hubble telescope found this. It's God's house, or some just total nonsense, right? And I remember a time or two, not during the sermon because I knew better, but afterwards I would speak up and I'd go to the pastor or youth minister and I would say, hey, that stuff is just objectively not true. And I'm not saying you're lying, but you've got some bad information. And I think that, as a person of faith, you would want to do your due diligence to always be telling the truth as much as possible. And, I think that your faith should guide you to research this a little bit more.
Yes.
Instantly punished in some capacity. They go straight to my parents and get my shit fucked up somehow. Just drove me crazy. My wife says I was a paladin. I was too religious for the religious people. Because I remember one time I told the pastor that a true man of faith talking to another person of faith would give them the benefit of the doubt and at least the intellectual honesty to read about it. And a true man of faith would rather not talk about a topic than lie about one, even accidentally. Oh, shit, I got in trouble for that one.
I think it's weird because it's like the more agnostic or atheist you are, when you're actually trying to find proof and kind of connect the dots of this doesn't make sense, but this might make sense, or this kind of outlies what the hell this is, or you can see the connections in between this brand new story that was written and this, even though this person isn't religious, but they kind of mold together, even though they had no context of each other. It's weird because you slowly start seeing those things more and more, the more open-minded you are. And I'm not religious in any way. It fucking fucks with me all the fucking time because I'm not religious. I'm completely agnostic. If I can't tangibly understand what the fuck's going on, I just don't fucking think it's real. But if I was religious, it would be you have to keep learning and understanding what the hell's happening now to understand what the hell was being told then. If these are stories to live your life by and stuff like that, then the beings of what are going on now actually tell you the same shit that was going on then, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. One would think, but I mean, as adults here, we know that supernatural beings don't always manifest in biblically accurate ways.
Yeah.
It is one of those things where it's like, oh, yeah, not saying you're lying, but we have several thousand years of scientific advancement that now explains
exactly
what this allegory was about. Still good to understand, but
yeah,
dial it back a bit.
Yeah,
so,
like the flood story.
Mm-hmm. It seems like a lot of scripture and stuff is slowly starting to leak into motivational speeches and stuff like that, and motivational TikTok and motivational Facebook shorts and all that stuff. So you'll be scrolling through and you'll run into, well, it's not just that God gives you the shit that you can deal with, or God doesn't give you the shit that you can deal with, but it's also tests for every single person around you, because every single thing that you deal with will also show you how they're going to react to it. And if they're pieces of shit or they're garbage, they're not going to be around much longer because you're going to see who they are because of this. I'm like, no, that you're connecting way too many dots. You're just bullshitting now. You're just trying to get views. You're just trying to get clicks because you're
Mhm.
saying something that's outlandish. And it's like there's no in between with this shit. You even
No,
see it
it's
with,
either
like,
real or not, and that's kind of the problem. That's one I ran into as a kid, because like the same parents that this was very real, 100% angels, demons, blah blah blah. It would be something like I would watch them illegally roll back the odometer on a car to make it have less miles and go sell it for more, and I would say, like, isn't that a sin? Isn't that bad? Aren't the devils going to come for you? And be like, shut up, boy. That's for the church. That's not for here. This is the real world.
Conveniently hand waving away what seems like you're more like a moral path you should take. That's a rough one.
Yeah, a lot of that kind of stuff. So religion is fun. Oh God, I think this is a weird time to bring up this topic because I was raised religious. I told you I was baptized when I was 18, and I held on to the faith for a little bit. I think I probably dipped mid-20s, really, but I kept on some of the beliefs and stuff, and I was always kind of soft on religious people, and it was always, well, this group is misunderstood, and the Bible technically this, and yes, there's bad apples here and there. And I've recently, oh God, I feel like a fucking therapy podcast. I had to go to therapy, and the only one I could get around here is a Christian therapist. So we did talk about religious stuff. And I do not think she got the result that she wanted, because when I had to describe all the religious experiences throughout my life growing up, 9 out of 10 were very negative. And at the end of it, I thought, like, wow, I really shouldn't even pretend to be in this. I shouldn't be nice. Like, this has actually been a profoundly negative influence on my life. It's like, it's kind of bad.
That's funny though.
And it marries with politics now, which drives me insane. We're trying not to go down this too much, but you will notice the same logic that people apply to seeing things in clouds or religious beliefs also apply to things like QAnon and now political beliefs. People see symbols and text and words and double speak, and it's prophecy, and it's really at a true level just disgusted me to see how politics has infected religion. I feel that largely American Christianity is dead, and it has been replaced by more of a political ideology, that the two have become almost intractable, and it's very scary. And then
I lived in that. I lived in that. Like, fucking Glenn Beck was the second coming in my house.
Oh God, my condolences.
It was rough. 5 p.m. every day, had to watch it. We sat down, and it was effectively like watching 5 seconds. Glenn Beck would be like, and that's why we need to worry about Obama's fascism. Pause. What did he just say there? It was like school all over again. Yep. And having to restate, like, all I had to do was just literally say exactly what Glenn Beck said. Did not have to show any comprehension skills, any critical take of what just happened there. I just be like, that's why Obama's leading us down fascism. Play. And then it would just keep on going on.
Oh my God. I am so sorry. I cannot believe you made it out of that. So many kids that do that end up getting sucked right down that rabbit hole, man.
Well, the thing is, I'm still like right-leaning, because that's just where I landed. Politics, yeah, but it didn't, like, I didn't go down the extreme. I didn't like go in that craziness, because like family side was, when the helicopter comes, here's where the guns are, because we watch Glenn Beck.
Yeah, that's fucking.
And that's when I was like, I'm gonna play Pokemon and watch some TV and anime. Okay. Yeah, okay.
I think the hardest part about that is, for a while, if you questioned what the hell the government said or what the hell the news said, it was, okay, accept what the hell they say. They're not going to lie to you. But now when they lie once, everything becomes in question. And as everything becomes in question, then everything else becomes in question. So that's where, oh, they're trying to tell us this every other third word. Yeah, that's bullshit. Everybody knows that that's bullshit. Yes, there's crazy people that believe it, but I think everybody with a brain can see that there's not secret code in every single thing that's written in a newspaper. There just isn't. Mm-hmm. But the fact that when people started to question things, there was shit, made everybody go even farther. And when they went farther, it pulled everything to the fucking extremes.
Alex Jones being right about so much stuff is not what those people needed.
That's what's like, oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. So this is going to, like, a cancelable opinion. Alex Jones is on occasion right. And so a great example, the gay frog thing. I have gay frog t-shirts. I find it so funny, which is actually making fun of Alex Jones because it was about atrazine in the water. And as it turns out, the FDA was going through a corruption problem. There was too much atrazine in the water. And because of said corruption, it's a little bit difficult to say through their science if it's bad for humans or not. But independent science says it's pretty bad. And what it mostly does is disrupts gender development in infants and embryos. So people are more likely to be born intersexed or high or low T or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So Alex Jones discovered that before anybody else. What does he turn it into?
Gay
Obama put chemicals in the water to turn the frogs gay, and it's a PSYOP test run for a gay bomb. They're going to turn all your kids gay. And any fucking shred of useful information in that story is immediately disregarded by anybody with a brain.
Yep.
And I wouldn't even say like sometimes Alex Jones is right, because there was that episode, like one of the first ones Joe Rogan did on Spotify, where he had Alex Jones come in, he's just like, go off, homie. And every 5 seconds it was Jamie, look that up, and then Jamie be like, he's right. And it was just like 4 hours of Alex Jones just like saying all the crazy shit he's ever said. And then it was like, well, MasterCard's doing this, and they're controlling all these conspiracy things. They have all this bought out. And it's like, there's no possible. Nope, that happened. Okay.
But it's like technically right. All the information is like there, but it's not like fully actionable, or also not fully how it is in his head.
But also can't be dismissed. Like, he was onto something. He figured something out that's just bad shit. Even the non-crazy Alex Jones, most extreme over-the-top interpretations, like, oh, Vioxx in the water's still not good.
No, it's a lot like how I was telling the Spectrum fucking technician when he was here. I told him straight out, I said, there is software in that fucking router that makes that computer run like shit when it's plugged into that. I unplug that and plug the wire directly into my computer. I have gigabit internet, and all of a sudden everything stops and it says 1.1 gig when I do a speed test. All of a sudden I plug it into that. This software fucking works. It takes 5 minutes or so, and my speeds drop by fucking half. There is no fucking reason for it. But what I was going into before I went into that was it seems like a lot of the canceled people, whether you look at Alex Jones, you look at Milo with some of the things that he said, you look at Jordan Peterson with some of the things that he said, you look at Andrew Tate, a lot of the things that they say are very vague. They'll be very, very vague on the topic about what they're talking about. And that is true. But then when their opinion comes into it or muddies up the water, it'll make it so that way you can logically connect it, but it makes it so that way their opinion is what connects to the person that's going to cancel them.
Don't forget the money flow.
Yeah.
Makes them keep doing this constantly. I think that honestly, Jordan Peterson becoming a celebrity has been like the worst thing in the world for his health.
Yeah.
His like the writing and stuff and attitude and interviews from the first book to now as a political figure, totally different. The man has just been put through a grinder, and it's bad.
I wonder.
That's what happens when you just get hated on and try to be destroyed for having what you thought were reasonable, good guidance opinions. But then that's going to warp you. That's going to seed that toxic. It's the YouTube shit. When like you read 100 good comments and the one bad one just makes you more bitter and spiteful of everything. Whoa. And since I get dislike botted and I get a hate video every fucking day, yeah, I see that happening. But it's worse for people like Jordan Peterson who get more exposure and have more I just make Pokemon videos. I'm not out here like giving people good life guidance and then having an entire political side try to ruin my life off of that. So yeah, like crazy.
How do you write a book about making sure you make your bed, you don't take medicine that you don't need, you try and live life as clean as you possibly can, and all of a sudden you're a bad guy because you don't want to agree with speech that's being compelled? It's a very, very odd kind of connection.
How do you insult clean your room? Like people like, oh, it's if you say like, hey, I read this book, or I like Jordan Peterson, or I watch his podcast, like, her clean your room, that's not gonna do anything. I'm like, are you just so fucking stupid you don't understand the meaning behind that? It's like the spirit of a message versus the literal interpretation of a message. It's like the spirit of that is some very powerful stuff, and then it just gets thrown away.
It even gets connected deeper into him getting canceled as a whole. If your room is clean, if your closet is clean, you can say whatever the fuck you want forward because you know what the fuck's behind you is fucking nothing.
Mm-hmm.
If your closet's dirty and you're talking shit forward, you have a hell of a lot of shit that they're going to uncover at any moment.
I think I have a very different opinion about this compared to you guys. I think I'm definitely going to be more left-wing. Used to be libertarian, but they kind of went off the rails into Tea Party stuff.
Yeah.
So you're talking about, well, Jordan Peterson's a great example here.
Mm-hmm.
He did, many people try to destroy him, harass him. It's rough. There's a second side of that. That's the stick. The carrot is that you know full well how much YouTube and social media rewards extreme opinions, both
absolutely.
in terms of audience size and monetarily. And Alex Jones is another good example. You can watch the nature of the show change when the nutraceuticals show up. You can watch when Jordan Peterson gets that first like big book check, another one has to come, and then another one, because you're being constantly rewarded for it. And the algorithm will pull you down some sort of crazy path. And the more you do, the more compliments you get, the more right you think you are, the more you have an army of haters, which is weirdly reinforcing. It's a very unhealthy thing, which is why I've tried I do cover political topics on my channel. And TikTok rewards me greatly for political topics, but I'm trying really hard not to engage in it because I genuinely believe that when it comes to political beliefs, algorithms rot people's brains, both creators and watchers.
Oh, absolutely. And you saw that with Milo too. Milo did very, very similar things. He was kind of logical with the shit that he was saying at the beginning. And then as things kind of went, it just went more and more extreme. And you see it with every single one. The one that I thought was going to be very, very interesting going forward. And most people wouldn't understand why this would be interesting, but it kind of goes back to the Jordan Peterson and Milo thing. Kevin Samuels would have been fucking canceled within the next 9 months to a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I was like, oh wow, how did this guy not get canceled?
Yeah.
When you guys brought him up on PK, I'm like, this is outrageous, but I don't want to disagree with it.
Yeah. No, it's absolute, like, it connects the dots. Like, you follow Andrew Tate, you follow Kevin Samuels, you follow Jordan Peterson, and you can connect the dots of that's where Kevin Samuels was going. He was going to be even worse than Andrew Tate is currently.
Yeah.
But because the way he looks is more accepted in that aspect, being a right-leaning person, he's not going to get as much shit. Or is he going to be canceled even faster? It's very, very interesting to kind of just theory craft of what possibly could have happened. Or if that YouTube channel is going to be deleted, because I'm waiting for that one too.
I'll just say, since we said the forbidden name, Milo, my favorite part of his arc was when he became a furry.
Oh, God.
Were you around for that? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
Casually aware. I've tried I'm different than two of you. I try very hard to avoid a lot of content from a lot of the people you're talking about. Yeah. I have a no talking head policy on my YouTube channel. That's like no John Oliver, none of that stuff too. It's
super fair.
Total avoid out of maybe paranoid fear. I've seen my friends get sucked down rabbit holes and I want no part of it.
Yeah. All right, that's fair.
I'm rather odd. I kind of understand the extremist kind of ideology of both sides and kind of just conform to my own opinion instead of listening to only one side or listening or looking at one specific ideology.
For me, Milo went from, this guy's got some ideas, and I like that he is at least putting up a mirror to the left as like, hey, I'm the gay Republican guy. But then it just started becoming grift entertainment theater. I'm just like, he's saying anything now. And that was on full blast when he just came out as like a furry. He's like, here's my persona, going to a fur con, owning the libs, because now I'm the gay conservative furry. And he tried to play up on that, go into like Telegram groups, and then try to get like all of the donations and funding for that. And that fizzled out. I never heard about him again.
That's how I got in contact with him. One of my mods
in a furry group?
No. One of my mods got added to a Telegram group with Milo. He's like, bud, I have contacts with Milo. I know that PK was trying to get him back on. Let me get you guys in contact because everybody fucking loves Milo. I know he was one of your favorite guests from before. Let's get him back on. I was like, absolutely. Send me the email. He's like, he's down. I said, awesome. Send him an email. Got everything scheduled down to the time of when he was available. Doesn't fucking show. I'm like, I look like a fucking buffoon. I look like a fucking idiot because the first 15 fucking minutes of the show, they're like, yeah, well, our guest didn't even message or say that he canceled. He just didn't show up. I was like, it really looks like I messaged a fake Milo, but I was like, I know that's the right email, and I look like a retard. Nothing I can do, but I'm going to take that one on the chin.
Gotta take that L.
If I accomplished that, that would have been fucking bananas.
Yeah, that would have been cool, but it does seem like Milo kind of like fell out in that way too, where like now he's not like reliable or dependable in that way, where he's going to show up and be like, it's Milo. Now it's like, if we catch him on a good day of grifting, we might be able to get his attention.
Yeah, well, you took the word out of my mouth, grifting. A lot of these people go down the avenue of grift because it is very, very easy, because they're talking about topics that are like near and dear to people's heart, and it's easy to extract that money. It turns good, well-meaning people into horrible grifting machines.
To be fair, Alex Jones has always been that, so it's not like Alex Jones got more grift off the internet because he was selling gold bonds and pills and all that stuff. So it's like, he hustled from the beginning, and he was consistent on that, at least.
I think it did accelerate. And I think you were talking about Glenn Beck and Silver, right?
Both. Everything.
Yeah.
Food
I had a friend
rations.
of mine, his parents got into that shit, and they invested all the money, and it just crashed. They lost everything. That's scary and depressing that people... I totally don't listen to any of these people. I have probably more negative opinions of them than you. But nobody, even people that I like on TV telling me what to invest my money in, is going to convince me to do that. And it is terrifying to think that anybody watches a YouTube video from any person anywhere on the political spectrum giving investment advice and be like, yeah, that's what I'm going to bet the farm on.
I don't remember what the fuck his name was. But
I got to stretch. I'll be right back.
Yep, you're good. So
that looked painful rolling out.
Yeah, that looked really bad. So when I was at my fucking dad's and my stepmom's, they would watch this fucking show on whatever fucking won the
both.
Yeah.
They both have a ticker rolling at the bottom.
No, it was definitely the financial one. It was the major talking head of the financial one that's on at like 8, 9 o'clock at night. He like screams at bye. And I'm like, if you ever...
Oh, that's Kramer.
Yeah, Kramer. That's what his name is. He's like, this is a hot take, blah, blah, blah. And he says the most cold thing that you've ever heard in my life. I was like, this is the person you listen to for your fucking takes on what you're going to invest in. This is why you're living in a 1-bedroom house with a closet as your second bedroom.
Hot take. Amazon's going to keep growing.
It's so bad. And they would listen to it weekly. It's like, why? What's the point? One of you is living on fucking disability and the other one works under her dad at a fucking camper store. There's no way in hell that you are making enough money to be investing fucking anything.
Growing up, yeah. Like, I think the biggest thing is like, now that I've grown up, and the boomers just seem most susceptible to this, is just hope. Like, the selling of hopium destroyed my childhood to a degree, destroyed so many people's childhood to a degree. I remember one time for my birthday, I got a $50 gold coin. It was just a shitty, not worth anything, gold-plated thing. And she's just like, well, when it's time to graduate, and that's
$50 on this.
It's like when you graduate, you're ready to leave the house and maybe hold on to this when you're my age, and it's worth thousands of dollars. That's when you're going to get that break you need. And I'm like, it's worth nothing. Even as a kid, I could see that, but I'm like, okay, maybe as a guiding parental figure, they know something I don't about this. And then as I grew up more and more, I just saw some, like, everything that was advertised to family was just hopium.
The ones that made me giggle the most, and it's not even Beanie Babies, which actually have done something a little bit. The fucking limited edition quarters that they decided to drop 5 of every.
Oh, I've got that book somewhere.
It makes you really wonder how much they genuinely sell people on. Because I remember all the stupid, if you buy this 50-pack of quarters for $50 right now, we will send you one $20 Liberty Head dime.
And the book. And you can fit them into every state. And with the completed book, it's going to be worth thousands.
Yeah, no fucking way.
Wait, my brain just fucking galaxy brain exploded with the ultimate realization. So all of that shit was going on. Just the pandering of like Liberty quarters and gold bonds and just our boomer parents getting swindled out of every penny that should have gone to bettering our lives.
Yep.
And our Pokemon cards were the ones they shit on.
Yep. I thought it was funny. So my kids collect Pokemon cards, and so do I now. After me giving them all up because I had kids at fucking 15. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get back into collecting cards right as the card boom happened. So I was pretty fucking happy with myself. Last year, my son gets a handful of dollar store packs, like the legitimate dollar.
Yeah, those dollar store
ones.
packs are fucking fire, though.
And he pulls an $80 fucking card.
Are we going to see Charizard V?
No, he pulls a rainbow rare out of a fucking dollar store pack.
Which one's that?
Karina's Focus. It was $65 when it was pulled. I think it is absolutely fucking hilarious that out of $1 that my mom gave him, essentially.
Yeah, those dollar packs are cool.
He pulled a $65 card then, and the last thing I knew it was like $80.
Oh, no. Drift0r just said penny collector books. We would do that too. We would spend our weekends sorting pennies to look for the rare one that was going to give our family our break we deserved.
Oh man, I used to do that.
That was fun.
Yeah, we were that poor.
Yeah, same.
Yep. Trying to find those 1913 V nickels and those certain double stamp pennies and shit like that.
Yeah, or the 1943 D instead of a V or whatever. It was like, yep, only 500 were printed in Denver.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, here's 10,000 nickels you can look at if you want to.
No one else has gone through these before. This has never been critically searched over by anyone else either.
I'm sure that you didn't do this last month. What the hell? What are you talking about, man? I'm sure that you didn't do it. No, it's fucking hell. I remember I didn't even have those times. I remember I was lucky when we would go to Dunkin' Donuts and my mom would get her supersized coffee. And she would be like, Zach, if you go in and get me a coffee at 7 years old and tell them exactly how I want it, because our Dunkin' Donuts wasn't a drive-thru, I'll give you the change. She would give me the $4 for the $3.85 coffee and give me the 15 fucking cents. And I was like, yes, I got 15 fucking cents. And just so fucking
a candy bar.
Yeah. And I couldn't even think like that. That 15 cents went missing because I guarantee you it was back in that pocket for cigarettes next week.
That's terrible. I am sorry to hear that.
Oh, when Verlis was talking about going through and trying to buy a house and stuff, now me and my mom are finally kind of on speaking terms. She doesn't listen to the podcast because I bash her a little too much because I explain things instead of just leaving things vague. I fucking went to buy a house. I set up to buy a house twice. This time I got fucked over really, really badly. Had all of the paperwork in. They're like, okay, next thing we have to do is run a credit check. Do you have the down payment for the house and everything set up? Because we were buying a modular home in a park. It wasn't like we were buying land or anything. It was just essentially a fucking car note. It's just a large car note. Mm-hmm. They're like, you need 10% down. I was like, it's right here. We have the tax income coming. It's coming on this date. This is when the deposit will be able to be to you. What do we need to do to move forward with the next step? I was like, I'll pay the first month. So that way we get expedited everything and everything else. You good? Drifter, you good? I saw your face just go.
I believe that my Delta 8 is beginning to do its thing. So I may get a little bit less articulate and be a little bit slower.
That's better than pain.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I was like, wait. Are you telling me you can't lay down anymore?
Yeah. Are we losing him or are we losing him?
No. The second one. I'll probably have to get up and move around and stuff, in a bit. But
you're good.
Listening.
So they're like, fill out this paperwork, and we'll start moving forward with everything else. This is like the last step. It's your application for the park, and it's your banknote application. I was like, okay, good. Let's fucking go. I grew up from nothing. Been in not abandoned houses, but condemned houses after I moved out. Like, I'm ready to finally take the step of like actual responsibility and kind of get going. They're like, so we ran your credit. You have no credit. I said, okay. Why? Oh, well, you're negative 8,000, like 785 to this cable company, this internet company, and this phone company. I said, ma'am, I'm 19. When are these dates? Mm-hmm. Well, they said 2009, 2011, 2008. I was like, oh, that's wonderful. That's a lot of Social Security fraud. They said, well, you can't prove it. I said, how can I not prove it? My birth date says 94. How are you telling me this shit's acceptable? Like, so I sat there and flagged all of it. It doesn't make your credit go up, even if it was false. It's like, doesn't fucking matter.
The whole credit system is a sham, in my opinion. I'm very like anarchist, burn it to the ground on that. The credit score system, if I'm remembering correctly, began in 1988. So, Verlis, how old are you?
29, 93.
Okay. So our generation of people are like literally the first guinea pig test run of people that are born into this credit system.
Yeah.
And I genuinely hate everything about it because it fucks almost everybody. And it doesn't even do the best job of determining who's the best to give loans to. Maybe just who's the most profitable. I've had experiences like paying off a house early or paying my credit card bill on time too many times. Credit score goes down.
I've had some weird shit happen where it's just like, oh, you had like too many credit reports ran, so your score went down. It's like, I'm buying a house. Of course they're going to be checking my credit.
Yeah.
I agree that the system's dog shit. And also, like, I spent most of my like pre-YouTube time just all on debit, but I was responsible. Everything paid, never late. Yeah, exactly. So I was super late into the credit game.
Yep.
And then when I'm like trying to buy a house, like, you don't have a great credit history. I'm like, yeah, because I was responsible. And
I didn't live above my means. You mean I didn't take money from you that I didn't know if I
exactly.
had an answer for?
I didn't rely on other people's money, and I thought that I didn't want to fall into debt. Weird. Also,
you were like, maybe I shouldn't have a credit card when I'm this young. I don't need that.
Yeah. I skipped college as well. I just like worked 80 hours a week for years, saved up money, and then I quit everything and started YouTube. That's effectively the super one sentence backstory of mine. So like I think the entire thing is dog shit, but I have an 820 credit score. So
what's
I like living in this society if I can be at the top.
What's the highest APR you guys have seen that you've received? Like, hey, you have an offer for this.
Unfortunately, when I bought my last house, okay, too much crazy shit. I don't live in it anymore because I sold it right before COVID and everything went up. But it was like when the interest rates were going up, so I think 5.75, like 5.75%. So it was still super high, and
that's high. Oh,
well, that was high at the time. And that, like, because now, you know, post COVID or after everything collapsed and shit went down like 2%.
2017, I bought a Nissan Murano, $18,000.
Cars are going to be more than
cars should be like double plus.
Max legal limit, 24.8%.
Over how many years?
72 months.
I think it's legal on cars because the time window is smaller, so you can't gouge as much over time.
Mm-hmm.
It tripled the price of the vehicle.
Yeah. That's why I was like, how many years so we can know how many multiples of the price we're going to pay.
Yeah.
The first 6 payments didn't even touch the principal.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, well, you have a job. We can get you financed. I said, I'm $7,000 in debt. That isn't mine. I flagged it all 3 weeks ago. They're like, well, we'll get you financed. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nissan is the only company that does this.
We'll
they flagged me for 24% fucking APR.
Because then they'll sell the debt to somebody.
Yeah.
It's insane to me. And they can say they made a sale, which their customers like.
On a 2012 Nissan Murano. Oh, no, 2009 Nissan Murano that had no brakes on it, shitty tires, and I had to call them 16 times to get different things fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Had to get rid of the car 2 years later. But I actually benefited from that entire fucking credit thing.
So it built your credit up, I hope?
Not only did it build up my credit, I traded in a vehicle for the Murano that the transmission blew on the way to the dealership.
So you got some clunker benefit right there.
So we bought a 2003 or 4 Chrysler Town and Country. It was that shitty burgundy color, and it looked like a fucking, like if you pushed it out, it might not even be a different shape. So as we were going down the highway, we had to travel 45-ish miles to this dealership. We got about 30 miles. We're on a highway to do the last 10 miles, going about 65. You hear clunk, 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 clunk. And it just stopped. Like you stop hearing the engine rev. So my wife downshifted because it was a stick on the side of the steering wheel. Downshifted from overdrive into drive. 3 gears were gone. Just 3 of them gone. Completely gone. Traded in. They're like, so we're going to give you $2,800 for the van that's sitting outside. I was like, we paid 18. I'm not going to complain. You can show us whatever you want. I can't complain. If you're going to show me 28 and I'm going to give you 3 and I'm getting into a 2009, that's the newest vehicle I had at that point, I'm not going to complain. And then we sold the vehicle that we had before that van for $800, which we bought for $1,000. So throughout the entire time, we balanced like $200 worth of trade-in down to trade up all the way into a
that's hard to beat
for
cars.
Yeah.
Even with that egregious APR, wow.
And I was able to flip that APR onto my Durango and get the APR down. So that way it only added, I think it was like $2,000 onto the total price of my $60,000 vehicle that I got for $42 at 4% APR.
The problem is a lot of people don't understand how interest works and they get just consumed by it.
Yep.
No.
And
that's what happened partially with our student debt conundrum that we're now in, for which I'm getting more right-wing vibes from you guys. I'm big on student loan debt forgiveness, but the system has been fucked for so long. I don't think there's an easy way out for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is. And I'm actually, when I was listening to you, Drifter, on PK about this, I understood where you were coming from. Like, I don't think you were articulating yourself completely, but I don't think they were either.
I will admit it was a hard part of the show for me to watch because I was just like...
I'm like, oh, God. Like, I understand what they're both trying to say, but fuck, neither one of you guys are speaking clearly.
I wasn't. The problem I have does occasionally cause me to be...
Yeah, just you lose your train of thought and it's just gone.
Yeah, a little bit of brain fog. Like, and then, now I'm getting a little bit high, so that happens more frequently.
Well, it's also like, and now I'm in the middle of a political nuanced discussion.
And it's so in-depth that I can't sit here and have the in-depth conversation part of it, and that's the only part of it that's actually important. So I'm going to say half of it, and then it's not going to make sense.
Yeah, brain farts. No, I was trying to I think I was just trying to convince those guys that some people need a fucking break. So many people got absolutely shafted by all of society telling them to take this debt on, and they just need a fucking break. And maybe we don't have the money. We spend 50% more money than we have every year on random bullshit. It kind of reminds me of a tweet I saw some guy. He spent his entire pandemic check on a PlayStation 5, and everybody dogged him for it. And he's like, look, my check was, I don't know, $1,000. My rent is $3,000. I can be broke and pay a third of my rent, or I can be broke, pay no rent, and have a PlayStation for a couple of months. It's kind of almost the same kind of logic. Like, if the money's going to be wasted, it's not terrible that at least some people get a break.
Waste it for good. Mm-hmm.
Wait, I don't know if you can waste for good. You can waste for less bad.
Like, trying to, articulate how that idea goes, where it's like, if the money's going to, like, at least don't shit the money that you're wasting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the PPP loan thing. I knew that was total nonsense. I knew that was bad from the get-go. But on the flip side, I figured I should get the money while I can. I qualify.
Yeah.
I mean, my little peasant money isn't going to stop this giant clusterfuck from happening, because in life experiences, you can't stop the clusterfucks. I was there at Machinima when they were paying people flat rate fees. They had people on 4, 5. I had rumors of even 10 CPM flat rate for anything. And it was bankrupting the company, and they offered me the same deal. And I'm in business school, right? So I got my smart ass pants on, and I tell them, guys, this isn't sustainable. I don't want to be a part of this deal. It's going to drag your whole company down. Can we do something else? And I ultimately declined. And then I watched all of my friends sit there for like it was only like 6 months, but they were just paying them ridiculous money for 6 months. And I look up and all my friends are millionaires off of bullshit. And then the system collapses anyway, regardless of what I'm trying to do to help.
Yep.
So there's some of that in the real world.
Well, There's a lot of companies. I'm not going to name names because I do have like friends here and there and there and there that genuinely you look at them and you're like, you're successful. Not just you, Drifter, like bigger people than us. Like people that are now on the stock exchange. That's the funny part. I know specific this one. I'll type it. I'm not going to say it out loud.
So Zach, I know you like the 2-hour hard cutoff, but we were like in the middle of some right here. What's your plan? We finally going over
until Drifter was like, "Yes, I'm done now. I'm done talking."
All right.
Yeah. If Drifter's out, we're good.
I see. Yeah, I see. I'm familiar with what you wrote in the comments there. I have opinions,
but like I'm not going to talk on that because I do. You end up having connections everywhere. You can't just shit everywhere where you sleep. So like, there's people like them that are like corporations that you think actually have fucking made it. Did they make it or are they failing? You see everybody with these PPP loans that are just getting handed money. You have people in the cities that are getting handed money from PPP loans. That is fraud that they will never fucking see. They will never be affected by. That's my main problem with it is like we have these kids that are signing into college loans that they were told to take. Oh, you're never going to get a job without this.
Yeah.
But that level of pressure on a kid is going to make them sign it regardless of what the hell that number is. So that's where it doesn't matter. It's like if we're allowing 18-year-olds to go to war, we're allowing 18-year-olds to smoke cigarettes, we're allowing 18-year-olds to do all these things, and now they're an adult, but we don't teach them the right prospects to become an adult. Are we wrong or are they?
Well, you're wrong. I mean, we don't teach, like, if your kid goes through a public school system and even most private ones, they're not going to learn the majority of their rights, how to pay taxes, what to do when interacting with a police officer. There's 1,000 things that nobody is educated on, bizarrely, even loans and interest being one of them. I was raised by my Depression era grandparents, which is why I didn't have a credit card, because they were like, credit is evil and bad. And they taught, showed that how much you end up paying in the long run.
Stuff all your cash under the mattress.
Yep.
Not quite that extreme, but yeah. But a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people get exactly the opposite, or just dog shit parents that hand them a phone and they scroll TikTok and the ads educate them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem is there's no right way to fucking do it. You could teach them all the numbers and they still might shit the fucking bed. You could teach them everything properly and they still could shit the bed. They could end up going for underwater basket weaving masters and they literally have nothing to do afterwards. That's the problem is we have
on an individual level, yes, but in aggregate, probably not.
Absolutely.
Like if you taught 1,000 kids, most of them would learn things. Some of them are going to fail anyway.
Absolutely. And it's weird because like watching other people's content like Gary Vee and stuff like that, college isn't fucking built for everybody. High school is not even built for everybody.
Nope.
Yet we're using that as a standard to push everybody else towards being something better when there's a lot of people on this platform that succeed because they didn't decide to go to college, because they decided to drop out of school, because they decided to do this and do that and just, you know what? I know what I'm doing. I don't need that. But yet we push everybody, regardless of if they're entrepreneurial based or not, to go into college and sign their life away on loans that will affect them for a lot of their life. So like, I understand the nuance of like, yeah, we do have to help these people because the institutions themselves are the ones who are getting rich. The people who are going to school, yes, they're making more than what they would have made without the degree. Absolutely, I completely understand where that point comes from. But they're also getting fucked because of the APR and the loan and everything else from the other side too. Why are these corporations that are supposedly public making money off of us saying, hey, we need to get more intelligent?
I have a very strong opinion about this.
Same.
I believe it's a macro scale thing that the world that we live in and the economy that we live in is growing increasingly advanced. And what you have to know to be successful today is just tons more than what you had to know in the past. And in aggregate, the best way to get people there is to push traditional education. And I probably is true of most people.
Absolutely. So I think that one of the more interesting ways, and I just thought this up, so if it's not a complete thought, I fucking apologize. This might be a ADHD thought that just completely disappears. But it seems like the only way to actually get rid of this whole college and extreme high school where you're taking some college courses and like pushing towards that stuff is kind of like a learn at your own pace kind of thing but that only benefits people that have the ability to buy their own time.
Yeah. If you have a family to feed, if you're 18 and still living at home with your parents and you're not at school, you're going to have a job almost everywhere. Like, but don't have, it's not easy to live in this country doing nothing, I don't think.
No, and none of the safety nets actually catch you if you're going to school. So I do have 2 kids. I did fall on safety nets right as I came out of fucking high school. And I'll be fucking honest about it. This shit was fucking rough. I was left in an apartment building that my mom and dad, instead of giving me the house that they were offered to buy when one of my relatives passed away, they decided to take it for themselves. They said, we never owned anything for ourselves. We're going to take this. I had a newborn and a baby on the way that we didn't know about yet. So they left us in the apartment that was already being repossessed and everything else. There was full-on eviction notices, and we had a 30-day eviction. Like, it was going to happen. But I had to deal with child support court because falling on services at that point and have a dad who never took care of you, you have to deal with child support court. So they look at you and say, well, if you're going to college and you're not the mother, we're not going to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
I got looked in the face and told, if you can't make it yourself, then I don't know what you're doing. We'll pay for the kid.
Yeah,
we'll pay for the mom. But
gender bias thing. I ran into that with the harassment thing. I was trying to get restraining orders, and I had like 7 lawyers tell me, if you're not a battered woman, it ain't happening.
Yeah. Well, it's ridiculous. They legitimately, regardless of what the hell's going on, they don't care what the story is. They don't care what the hell's going on. Mm-hmm. Because there's a kid in the situation, they'll accept it. But the second that you step out of line, you're the piece of shit because you're not doing everything you can. I was working 35 hours a week, but it still wasn't enough. Because back then, I was making minimum wage working at a Subway because I was fucking 17 years old. You know how many places don't hire you until you're 18?
All of them.
Most of them. Most of the reputable ones.
Yeah.
Not even Walmart. Not even fucking Walmart will hire you until you're 18. So that story's fucking insane. We went to child support court, and my dad fucking molested me. I don't fucking care. I've said it like 3 or 4 times on the show. I'll call it as it happened. What's he gonna do? Sue me for slander? Prove that it didn't fucking happen. You can't even fucking walk. So we're sitting there, and I didn't tell anybody yet. Nobody fucking knows. Nobody has any idea what happened. They just know I'm very, very aggressive towards him, and I probably would put him in a hospital if I had the availability to. The entire time, my then fiance was showing the baby to my sperm donor. Like, yeah, look at the baby we had. Well, and he's not interested. We go into court. He straight up stands up and says, Your Honor, I've been on disability for the past 15 years. I paid child support for the past 8. Sometimes it didn't show up on time. Sometimes it didn't show up at all. But you know what? I paid my duty to society and to him. I paid my $25 a month. And then his wife stood up and said, Your Honor, I also have the tax returns. The only money that came into the house was mine. Therefore, he could not claim any of it. Therefore, none of it can go to his son. None of my funds will ever be used towards his kid. I absolve all rights. The judge looks at me and says, I understand. I fucking get it. But you were old enough to lay in a bed and you were old enough to have a kid. You don't need child support anymore. Go figure it out. Then we had to move in with my in-laws.
That's rough.
Yeah, that's rough, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Because that child support card that I got $25 a month on is what I had to buy diapers with. Because I didn't get help. Like, my mom legitimately and this isn't even something bagging on my mom. It's just what happened. She looked at me and was like, I'll either give you a driver's license, that way you can take care of things, or I'll make sure your baby has crib and clothing. It's like the crib and clothing's needed. Like, I'll take that one. Like, I have to, because that fucking sucks. But like, why? Why can't we just go a little cheaper on that and do both? This is kind of retarded. I was so happy that I didn't get the driver's license at that point, because within 6 months their car was impounded because it was being driven without insurance for the past year and a half. Yeah, it was a real rough fucking time, man.
We didn't even get into the depth of the student loan shit too. Damn.
Yeah, no, we got a little off track. I was actually gonna bounce if you're okay. I'm running a little short on time.
No, you're good, man. I told you whenever you were ready to go.
We're in that 2 hours and
Thank you, boys, for coming and hanging out. Drifter, it looks like you're all disabled. Have a good night, man. Thanks for coming and hanging out.
Oh, dude, it was good to be here. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for all your help.
Thanks for waking me up and getting me on this.
Have a good one, boys.